The way that I've reimagined how I teach online is I've been very deliberate and intentional about relationship building. That's always been true in the classroom, but I really recognized that getting to know your students online is a completely different experience. So during the first 2 weeks of my classes, I did hold one-on-one meetings with my students where we explored together things we were interested in, what students were hoping to learn in the class, and whether they anticipated any barriers or challenges to their success in the remote learning environment. So those meetings really set the tone for our classroom environment where we would not only be pursuing the curriculum together, but we would also be focused on that relationship building, which makes a lot of sense because the program that I'm coaching and teaching in is a leadership program.
In the software engineering technology program, my colleague has developed a very, very good introductory activity, if you will, for all incoming students in a scavenger hunt. The scavenger hunt is open to all first-year incoming students. It lasts a couple of weeks, and it is a tremendous way for students to get to know one another because they're put into groups, and a great way for the faculty members to get to know the students because we judge the remarkable things. And there are videos, there are crazy things they have to bake, they have to build things, just fun things to get them to know one another and for us to get them to know a lot better.
Especially with the people that I worked with, we had small groups, right? 4 or 5, 3 to 5 people. So I found that those people that I worked with a lot, we kind of kept that feeling of community.
So the way I connect with my students in the electromechanical and automation maintenance program is through Microsoft Teams. The ability to have chat groups and group discussions, online collaborative documentation, along with videos and chats in Zoom or Microsoft Teams as well, keep the students engaged and connected with the rest of their peers.
Yeah, the feeling of community comes from coming to class and participating in breakout rooms or breakout assignments or collaborative assignments. And I think that's really important when we're learning remotely, is that we don't miss out on that. That is our connection to others in our class, or connection to our instructor, my connection to you. In fact, I think if anything in remote learning, we've learned that that human element is so important, right? So it's so important to have that connection with people, and that's how we do it.
Collaboration is not only important in the classroom, it is critical online. So one of the first steps that I did in my own classroom and encouraged our faculty team to do was to organize small project teams very close to the start of the semester, not only to allow those relationships to develop as you would anticipate working together as a team, but also as a place to check in with questions or concerns. And then of course, if questions can't be answered in those small project teams, students will reach out to me for clarification. But that was very strategic in terms of relationship building and allowing students to have a smaller group of people to lean on for support as they're coming into this remote environment, maybe not knowing many students and not being fully aware of some of the expectations. So that seemed like a really great way to establish some relationships early on and to give students another support system.
The way that I connected with my fellow classmates during this remote learning experience was through text message, phone calls, Skype, Messenger, any kind of online or social media that we used to communicate about projects.
There are many ways that I connect with my students. So we really attempt to make our classroom environment fun and engaging. One of the examples is that each class, if students are joining me online early, we'll have a guest DJ. So we play music to kind of create a welcoming environment. It's almost like a shift from whatever you were doing before, a signal that you're coming into the classroom, the remote classroom, and it's time to set yourself up for success by putting away your distractions and really engaging in the class.
The sense of community with learning online is very strong in IT courses and IT programs in general. Because the students need to work in groups in many of the programs, especially the ones that I'm involved in, the students are always calling each other.
Yeah, so we had messenger groups that we could we used, and then we were always available. I have phone numbers of people in my classes that we could, again, bounce ideas or ask questions if we didn't know.
And we don't always like to be on camera. Like right now, I really don't want to be on camera, but I realize how important it is for you to hear my voice, to see my body language. And it's the same for me as an instructor to see that from you. Using breakout rooms to build community is really important, because then you can also have that connection with your co-students.
I would say another way I connect with students is by email. If I'm concerned about a student because they aren't coming to class, or there's been an issue with an evaluation, I'll reach out by email, potentially suggest a Zoom meeting with them to connect one-on-one.
I still use email. Email is still a very common tool, so there are things that I use email for if I need some sort of asynchronous communication where I don't care about an instant response. And I definitely still use Conestoga, so things like global announcements to the classroom, where all the content is, where the students submit their work, where they do their quizzes. Conestoga is still used for that.
There is absolutely the opportunity to build community online. I do think that you need to be strategic and intentional about it, that it's more challenging because we don't see people face to face, but it's achievable. And the ways that we've done that in the courses that I teach and what I've coached out to our program is to make it fun where we can. So fun and learning need not be mutually exclusive.
What I've seen through our collaboration tools, through Zoom specifically, is students working through problems. So there'd be a question posed by the professor that the students then work together and bounce ideas off of to find the resolution. So it's not a matter of just question answer. Students are communicating and working through problems together in order to find the solution.
It never dawned on me that communication was that important, and that's what we were doing, until he said, no, it's important because the students that he doesn't hear from, he can't help, right? So that's where then it clicked that, no, I'm just communicating and that's what's important, right?
So really step outside your comfort zone, have those discussions, get involved in the chat groups. This all can happen online and really create that sense of community for you.
You almost have to, because communication, like being in touch, is just that important, right?